Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. It's Monday, August 24th. I'm your host, Jose Galison, and this is the kitty of the day. I actually don't remember his name, what the wife called him, but I've been calling him Glizzy because he has some name that sounds similar. And so just to infuriate her, I've just been calling him Mr. Glizzy, so now to me, he is Mr. Glizzy. So to you guys, say hello to Mr. Glizzy, this furry little kitty. See how fuzzy he is? Look at his little face. He's got like he's got a little mask. They tend to be furrier in certain spots, like their face, their ears, their tails. So you can tell he's quite fuzzy just looking about his feet and his face and stuff, but he's a sweet little fella. Now, if you like seeing my hot takes Monday through Friday, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern, when we make it and when we make it on time. We were kind of close to it today. We almost made on time, just about 15 minutes late. Or if you just like seeing the kitty of the day, like this beautiful little black boy sphinx, a fuzzy little fella, Mr. Glizzy, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. That way you can see when we're going live and when we're dropping new videos. We'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everyone. How's everything going? Am I sounding good? Everything good on your end? Let me know. It is a one-man show for the morning show here. Good to see you guys. We have plenty to go through today. As always, we start the show off with some icebreaker content, something more of the fun, the funny, the gen pop, the slop, that sort of stuff. Today will be no exception. We have an assortment of anti-Semitism, racism, and dick jokes for you guys. It will be quite the icebreaker, and then we will get into the foreign policy roundup, over into the world of war, what's going on there, and then we will get into our first titled segment of the day, Candace cleanup crew. We're doing a little bit of Candace cleanup of our own, kind of cleaning up my bookmark folder of Candace stuff, some lingering things just kind of on my mind after the old great debate. And some of the folks cleaning up for it. So we'll talk about that, hone in on a few things there, and then we will get into the following segment. Kenneth Trentadue didn't kill himself. What was it? I believe last Friday, which I was not here, was feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm back now. That was I forget which anniversary it was, but I'll tell you which one it is here soon. But that was the anniversary of Kenneth Trentadue's death, and so we'll cover some OKC content, do a quick and some new stuff too. There's also the Fed just recently entrapped a fat retard, so we will talk about that, have some fun with that, and point out how fucked up it is, while also still kind of being a little bit hilarious. All that and more. It's 20. Well, no, one second. It's the. Doesn't say the. I'm sorry. I was trying to tell you what year it was. I'd have to do the math. I don't feel like sitting here doing the math. What was it? It just says anniversary in the little thing I have here. Whatever. I'll do the math later. I feel dumb now. I don't want to do the math on the fly because I'll mess it up and feel really dumb. But yeah, all that and more. To start off the show, we'll get into some icebreaker content, but just a little casual reminder, you never know when we get a new person here, what the show is, what it's about. I call the format of the show an info dump sort of format. We're throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, some posts, articles, tweets, stuff with a like clip, etc., etc. Most of this is stuff that we're processing in real time. Sometimes it's stuff that's that we've processed for. Great example is our Kenneth Trentadue piece today, although we will be mixing it in with some new stuff, so it will be also stuff we haven't processed yet. But either way, that's kind of the main vibe of this show. It's kind of, think of it as like a podcaster's homework. This is meant to be like a live stream, interactive sort of experience to hang out with the fans. Now, I know most of you guys don't show up for the live experience, and I totally get that. Totally makes sense. And to accommodate you guys to make it more of like a podcast or a normal YouTube video or something of the like, I put in the video/podcast description, I put the timestamps so we can jump around from topic to topic, and you can avoid the chat banter that I keep to the end of each segment. As soon as you hear that chat banter, you know the segment's over. Just jump on over to the next one. Now, if you are here for the live experience, do like to remind you guys that I try to give you guys at least one good morning. After that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet being Super Chat. You can do that here, or alternatively, you also can support the show over at patreon.com. So there's No Way Jose 2020, top left-hand corner. Here is a QR code, and you'll get a little bit of that old chat bias there. We got a nice little tight-knit crew. Let's be real. I kind of know who my people are, generally speaking. So you'll get a little bit of that, and you'll get a number of other perks. For example, a Telegram and some other perks that I'll mention at the end of the show. It's a great thing. I got like 3 paywalled episodes this week I'm doing too. So one of which is during the normal morning dump hours. So if you do like this morning show during these hours, I will be missing one of them this week, and we will be doing a paywalled show instead, doing a deep dive into Carol House and their OKC dig. So just throwing it out there, low level $2. That's all it takes. You can show up for that live stream on Wednesday. But with that, let's go into getting some icebreaker content. Talk about, like I said, start off with some a little bit of subtle anti-Semitism. A hero has left us. He's left the building. Real quick, though, I know I did show you a new kitty today. Just real quick, the old lady got a really good picture of all of them together. So I got to show you my cute little kitty photos before we get into some actual icebreaker stuff. Here you go. Look at the adorable one. Got all of them in one picture. All of them in one little bed. Just absolutely adorable. You can see Mr. Glizzy there on the left that I just showed to you. But you guys will get to meet a number of these guys here soon. I'll be moving them over to the kitty room that's closer to where I record this morning show, so you'll be able to see more of them here soon. Adorable little guys. But with that, moving on from cats to anti-Semitism, that is the duality of man here on No Way Jose. Apparently, the Happy Merchant creator has passed, unfortunately. So just kind of shout out, rest in peace, the Happy Merchant. For those who, if you're an audio listener, you probably know what I mean when I say Happy Merchant, but if you don't, put your hands together and kind of put them in front of your face and then kind of do the hand rubbing thing. Imagine a small little hat, a long nose. I think you kind of get it. So this was Nick Bugas. He passed away at 71. So he has left us, but he's left a mark on the world. Gone too soon, but not forgotten. You live on through your memes, my friend. F's in the chat for a real king, everybody. Everyone hit F, 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 F. Everyone hit the chat, F, F, F. It's a hero. Hit F right now. All right, now let's slide on in from anti-Semitism to racism, because they're not the same thing, lest they try to convince you so. We have a city leader who used the N-word in a council meeting, says he won't apologize and might run for mayor. Okay, you guys can dig into that one on your own. I'll give it a retweet if anyone actually cares to dig into the subtle details of that story. I think the headline suffices, and it is hilarious. I kind of hope he gets the mayor. I hope he gets it. I have no idea the context here. Maybe it was permissible. Was it justified? I don't know. We'll never know unless one of you guys want to let me know in the chat. Check in on that. Let's keep moving. While we're still kind of in the N-word sort of spot of our icebreaker coverage, I figured I'd show you the realest nigga I've ever seen. This is Jermaine. He climbed a 19-story building to save his bedridden mother. So with that, we're all gonna say nigga here, and like in a good way, in a very wholesome way. This is a real ass nigga. So let's watch some real ass nigga shit and give some ups to Jermaine. Big ups, Jermaine. You're a big dog, saving your mom, doing some real cool shit. The sort of shit we all dream of when we're like 5 years old. You're like, you know what? One day I'm gonna be like fucking Spider-Man, and mom, if you were in a fucking building, I'd climb it and I'd save you. Like, this is what this guy did. He's living the dreams of a 7-year-old. It's fucking amazing. Here you go. Let's watch Jermaine do the amazing.
A man scaling a 19-story burning building in Philadelphia with the hopes of reaching his mother trapped inside.
I'm not just going to sit there and let my mom die. I'd rather risk my life falling than let her sit in there and die.
Yeah, he's climbing all the way up the outside of the building.
Sometime after 9:30 p.m., Jermaine received a call from his sister saying his 65-year-old immobile mother couldn't make it out of her apartment on the 15th floor. Jermaine rushed to the scene, but police had blocked off the front door.
They said they was like, the elevator's not working. I'm like, no problem, I'll take the steps. I just want to go make sure.
Oh, please tell me you guys heard that. Oh my God, I was not expecting the ceiling bird. Let's keep going.
My mother is sick. She bedridden. So I need to get up there.
But police wouldn't let Jermaine in. So despite having fractured his hip earlier that day, Jermaine let adrenaline take over, climbing the building's fenced-in balconies, wire cutters in hand.
I was going to cut a hole in the fence to next door and then, to let her go through.
The fire was contained by the time he reached his mother's floor. She reassured him from the balcony that she was okay, and back down he went.
Was she yelling at you because you climbed outside?
She was more shocked. She really not, she don't be surprised at things I do to her. She know I go over and beyond for her.
So back down he went, expecting a quick arrest once on the ground. But an understanding officer let him go.
So he actually did cut me a break because he understood the circumstances. And he knew, when you're adrenaline pumping your mom up there, you thinking she dying, you do anything you can.
Man, while this is a cool story, I mean, I think we should keep it in mind. None of this would have been necessary if they just would have heard the damn fire alarm. Continue going from one real ass nigga to not so much of some real ass niggas, and sliding into our wiener jokes, our dick coverage of the Icebreaker content for today. We got a little WNBA dildo action, and I don't know, not in the way that maybe some people might thinking that's good. I don't know. I was about to say not in the good way, but then I was like, wait, I don't know. Most of those, I think of the NBA, and I just think of hulking lesbians, so I don't know if that's necessarily a good way. But whatever. Perverted joke, insert that here. But either way, I guess a little bit of catch up for those who aren't aware. It was a thing. It totally took me by storm. They're still doing this. Apparently, they're still throwing dildos at WNBA games. I guess that's the long and short of it there. But either way, here's a funny clip of them whining and crying about it, essentially calling everybody gay for throwing dildos, which I don't know why that's supposedly a bad thing, but whatever. Here you go.
Y'all lame as fuck. Sorry, mama. Man, and like in most of these occasions, it's men. And I want you to know that is the gayest thing that you can do, is to go to a store, a sex shop, buy a dildo, come to a women's game to throw the dildo on the court. That is the gayest shit that I've ever heard.
Don't let these ladies get you down, Kings. Ain't nothing gay about it.
So I'm a firm believer in anyone that has so much problem with a certain marginalized group, just come out and say that you're a part of our marginalized group, because that hate is unwarranted. It's not factual. And it says more about the internal struggles of that individual than it ever will say about the collective group. The men that are throwing it also shows that you are weak, like extremely weak. And
it really depends on how far they throw it. I don't know what kind of. I mean, if you're out in the nosebleeds and you're throwing that into like center stage, I don't know how she gets off saying this shows you're weak. If anything, he's got quite the shoulder strength there, lady. Something you should be jealous of. Not to get involved in the war of the sexes, but that is one of the spots where we dominate, especially upper body strength, shoulders. You ain't got shit us there. So I think there's a little bit of projection coming here. You're just a little bit upset. That once you get a little bit past the 3-point line, it starts to fall flat. But I can throw that bitch from the halfway. I mean, I ain't going to get it in, but I'll get it over there. So, but let's keep watching.
There's a lot about how you feel about women, but we don't care. It's a disruption of the game. Y'all lame as shit to us. Y'all gay to us, and we see it. So keep throwing them if you just want to keep telling us you're gay.
So corny.
You can come out. It's
so
okay. You'll be happier. You'll be nicer to people. You'll be happier in your everyday life. You don't need to go to
So seething, so bad.
therapy or nothing.
Oh, I don't care, but you're gay.
That shit. Just be yourself.
But then it's like this weird, like, strain, but like, it's okay if you're gay. Like, okay, whatever.
And green, like, get your skin color. My bad. Sorry. Thank you for asking that. I've been waiting for this question. Y'all weird.
Are they still doing the betting? Someone in the chat, chime off. I bet you one of you guys are. They still doing the betting on like different colors? Because I know she was mentioning the color there. The significance there is they were like doing, I guess, like day by day betting, like with all this new Polymarket and shit type stuff. Is it going to be a blue one today? Let's keep going.
All right, this was
like it says dildo on their credit card. Like they have to go through their financial advisor and be like, "What's this green dildo? Like, you good, Chad?"
She knows that's bullshit. I mean, anyone who's like even, I mean, not that I've particularly gone to a lot of sex shops or anything, but it's kind of common knowledge. Anything like that, usually they deliver, like with like whether it's on your banking statement or whether it's even in like, say you get delivered to the house. Usually they put those in like discreet things. So she's retired. Anyway, it's not going to overanalyze this. Let's move on to Clavicular. He got another interesting interaction on in the club. He seems to not quite socially grasp the concept of the club. Maybe one of these days he will. But the latest in Clavicular world, we have him talking to the homie about peen size. So I think we all can relate to that as men. We've definitely done that before. I have. Very Tower Gang coded, for sure. So let's check in on this. This is supposedly somebody else named Hexamlight. I don't know where he's coming up with these weird-ass names, but we got Clavicular and Hexamlight talking about their weens. So, nothing more hilarious than listening to autistic teenagers say the darndest things. So here you go. Here is Clavicular talking about his wiener.
Really? What are they? What you working? 6.75 by 5.5. Okay. That's around what I got too, actually. My phone pressure, it like comes out a little bit more than that, but I haven't really like. You pump? You do PE? Oh, no. I wish I did. Yeah, I just PE.
All right, eat your heart out, girls. 6.75. That's where we're working. That's solid. That ain't bad. That's about, I'd say, probably in the 6.5 to 8 range. Just damn near perfect for any woman, if we're going to be honest here. So congrats, King. Not too big, not too small. Good for you. Speaking, we've been talking about the dick. Let's not forget about the balls. Casey Musgraves apparently performed on a giant pair of disco truck nuts. I'm not even entirely sure who Casey Musgraves is, but either way, this is quite the sight to behold, so you shall behold it with me. Here is Casey Musgraves dangling in the sky on a pair of disco testicles, singing a song. That's quite the unique, grouping of words that just happened there, but here you go. Okay, so she's country. I'm getting country vibes from that, like shitty country slop music. I guess that makes sense. I kind of get the nuts thing, because that is a thing. That's like, I've seen those guys have them on their trucks, the big old disco ball nuts. So I guess that's the vibe. Still kind of a wild choice. Still a wild choice there, Casey. Can you imagine? I don't even know. Maybe she does the most wholesome of music, and maybe it's some sort of joke of some sort. Maybe it's some sort of... But I don't know. I just cannot imagine if I just, my little girl became a pop star, that I wake up and see the news and there's my little lady just dangling a pair of balls. I don't know what way we could spin that for it not to be horrifying. So I'm sorry, Casey Musgraves' dad. I'm sorry you had to see this. Bizarre choice, Casey. I would hazard don't do that in the future. I don't know what you were thinking. With that, let's roll in the chat, say some good mornings, and then we will get into the world of foreign policy, check in on what's going on over there. Good morning, Shannon Jones. Good morning, Retardo. Good morning, Icken Ba. Good morning, Gotis. Good morning, Sir Hunt Solo. Sound is good, nice. Yes, anti-Semitism and dick jokes. That's what we're bringing here today, baby. Good morning, whoop my baby mama hoe ass. Always fun to say. Good morning, Tom33. Good morning, Hardara. Good morning, Jose. Also, shout out Dave Smith, even though he's still a bit of a normie. He will not be here today, though, but you can see him on the thumbnail. We'll be talking about him a little wee bit. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, Hardar says the most pussy I'll ever see in one picture. Yeah. Tom says, I was shook the Happy Merchant was new enough for a 71-year-old guy to have invented. I assumed it was super old. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I knew it's old, but I didn't think it was like old. I don't know. I guess I'm not particularly surprised. I guess I would have assumed he was probably a little bit older, but probably in that realm of age if I would have guessed. But yeah, I definitely did think it was older. It's definitely not a newer invention. It's been around for a hot minute. Good morning, Q Bertamo, you ugly bastard. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. We got some towers up in the chat. Hard R-ing it in there. Nice. Good morning, good morning. I see you guys caught the ceiling bird as well. I thought maybe I was losing my mind for a moment there. What else we got? Cubert says, I find ironic that man-hating lesbians stick penis-shaped rubber devices into their vaginas. It is quite ironic, isn't it? Good morning, Just Wills. This WNBA is full of trannies. Listen to that man talk. Yeah, you're probably onto a little bit of something there. Good morning. Good morning, Daz. Good morning. Good morning. Although afternoon for you, you over across the pond. Good morning. Good morning. Fishing. Hope you catch some. But good morning. Good morning. All right, guys, let's get into some foreign policy. Let's check in on what's going on over there, and then we will get into the Candace craziness. But yeah, let's check in what's going on over in the whole back and forth with Trump and Iran. Just kind of in ridiculous territory currently. We got him. We got Trump posting images of the Strait of Hormuz as new U.S. territory. So this is a sort of back and forth we have now. The limited amount. I guess we're in meme territory. This is the sort of diplomacy we're dealing with. So he posted that on Saturday. This is the second time he's also posted it. So I mean, he's just kind of playing the same tricks over and over again until he's done it like 100 times for each specific thing, whether that's, they're begging for a deal, or I'm trying to think of one of the 10 other different, things we hear over and over again. Oh, their navy's destroyed, their whatever's destroyed, their this is destroyed, they're begging. So now we're doing the meme. Now it's the meme thing. So we're just going to meme until something else, some other sort of methodology becomes available that you can just spam over and over again until another spam becomes available. But that's where they're at right now, just memeing back and forth. And also a little bit of lying. We got the U.S. claimed 40 tankers exited the strait on a single day. The tracking agency recorded 0. So we got a little bit of a discrepancy here. U.S. officials said the U.S. successfully held 40 vessels through the Strait of Hormuz on a single day, and an international shipping tracking agency did not record a single vessel exiting the waterway. Barack Ravid reported speaking with 3 U.S. officials who said that dozens of tankers carrying 16 million barrels of oil safely exited the Strait of Hormuz on Friday. Kepler, a global data analytics platform that tracks physical commodity markets and shipping in real time, recorded 0 barrels of oil exiting the strait on that day. The U.S. officials speaking with Ravid said the oil left the waterway through the southern corridor. Last week, Axios reported speaking with 2 U.S. officials who explained that over the past several weeks, the military has helped 15 to 20 vessels per day enter or exit the Persian Gulf by transiting the Strait of Hormuz near the Omani coast. One official claimed the covert operations have increased the flow of oil out of the Gulf to half the pre-war level, about 10 million barrels per day. We've been controlling the southern lane of the Strait of Hormuz for 2 months now. The IRGC can be a nuisance, but they don't control the strait. We do, one official said. The U.S. strategy has tankers move in bulk, with the U.S. fighter jets escorting the vessels and shooting down Iranian missiles and drones. The official said the operations were made possible by the U.S. taking out Iranian radars. The scheme to escort tankers through the strait is part of Trump's new Iran war strategy. The president believes that it can apply significant economic pressure on Iran without damaging the world economy. The strategy assumes that Tehran will not respond to economic war with military escalation. Last week, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, said the ramped-up economic warfare made restarting the war between the U.S. and Iran less likely. If we are doing the maximum economic pressure, then that means that likely there will not be a large-scale kinetic restart, he said. However, responsible statecraft VP Trita Parsi argued Iran is likely to escalate the conflict in response to economic pain. Tehran does not appear overly concerned for now, but that could change if Trump refuses to return to the MOU or succeeds in turning the balance of economic pain against Iran. Tehran will face a far harsher reality, he wrote at Substack on Wednesday. Between surrender or escalation, Iran will almost certainly choose escalation. Even if Trump has gained the economic upper hand, Tehran still believes it holds a military advantage. So, I don't know, maybe there's some truth to these claims. I think it's probably a little bit somewhere in the middle. If anything, I'm leaning far more towards lie than truth here. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a onesies, twosies here and there, some squeezing through. But, as we got, maybe lies and memeing happening on the U.S. side of things, on the Iran side of things, they're wheeling and dealing. We got them reviewing an invitation to join the Mecca Joint Defense Agreement. There was a Mecca agreement that was signed earlier this month by Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. All three countries vowing to defend each other. Essentially, we're dealing with like Article 15 style sort of deals, which obviously, I don't know if you're aware of how I view these. I'm not necessarily a fan of these things, particularly from the U.S. side of things. I mean, that's how you end up with all these, that's essentially end up with like World War I, World War II, where you have all these treaties that happen. And then, from there, one thing happens, Poland gets invaded. Then, now this person's obligated, this person's obligated. So it puts you in dicey territory. But if we're talking about, I guess other actors, particularly actors that, have been kind of downtrodden on the world stage, I don't know if I'd necessarily say I support this, but I would say it looks like a positive development, perhaps, at least, for the prospect of, how do I put this? I mean, obviously, there's, if they do end up, gaining, a hegemon sort of power and doing the same sort of things, obviously, this is dicey territory to where that could also devolve into some sort of other issue, just coming from a different, nation as opposed to, the United States or something. But either way, I just see this, though. I guess obviously this kind of looks like perhaps, for one, I guess it's signaling the United States being less of a world empire. Also, I do think it kind of increases the likelihood of kind of normalization among the nations. Perhaps less warfare, although unfortunately these sorts of deals can actually end up resulting in more warfare. But I don't know, at least maybe in the immediate, it could reduce tensions overseas, because it kind of puts us in a situation where we basically have no real allies except for Israel in the area. So, because we're talking Saudi Arabia, we're talking Turkey here, Pakistan, getting involved into a joint defense agreement with Iran. So, pretty significant shit. Islamic Republic of Iran denied on 24 August. Oh, never mind. This was just updated today. Well, after all of that, I read that this morning. I glanced at it. The update must have come after I read it. So after all of that, apparently now they have denied it. Okay, sorry. Erase all of that commentary I just gave. I read this article ahead of time this morning, and they just dropped an update. So the Islamic Republic of Iran denied on 24 August that it had been invited to join the Mecca Defense Pact between Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan, but confirmed that proposals have been made to hold regional security talks with the three countries. So okay, that actually might be better, because I definitely, as I kind of was basically saying just a minute ago, I'm kind of cautious about these sorts of defense deals and what they could end up occurring as a result of them. But if it's just security talks, if it's just kind of normalization sort of stuff, positive development all the same. Either way, interesting sort of seeming normalization occurring over in the region. Iran getting along with a lot of our other allies in the area between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, kind of putting us in a unique situation going forward. Going on, let's check in on the flip side of this. While we have these other nations kind of normalizing things, we have Israel all the more signaling they're likely to ramp things up. We got reports coming from senior Israeli military officials that Netanyahu is preparing to escalate ongoing wars to have a pretext for postponing the upcoming Knesset election. The Israeli outlet Mariv reports speaking with senior officials familiar with an IDF assessment that Netanyahu will attempt to escalate an ongoing conflict or ignite a new one. The Prime Minister hopes that putting Israel on a more active military footing will create a political opening to delay elections scheduled for October 27th. Mariv speculates that the military operation will intensify the ongoing genocide in Gaza. In an interview with Mario Nafal on Friday, U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barak said Israel was attempting to bait Turkey into an escalation by attacking a military base in Idlib, Syria. Senior Israeli military officials told Mariv the IDF would not allow Netanyahu to start a new war before the upcoming election. Since the U.S. brokered a ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel last October, Tel Aviv has continued its onslaught in Gaza at a reduced pace. Over 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in the last 10 months, and the IDF has expanded its control. And Netanyahu has used Israel's military conflicts in Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, the West Bank, and Gaza to delay his corruption deal. So looking like all the more, this stuff's going to crank up even more. We got a little bit of a dip in the deaths over in Gaza again. I know last week it was getting pretty bleak. We were getting these double digits sort of numbers again, back down to single digits, but still deaths nonetheless. So we got 3 dead in Gaza, 1 in the West Bank. So the IDF continues rampage against the occupied territories, killing 4 Palestinians over the past 24 hours. In the West Bank, it was a 14-year-old who literally, kind of bit the bullet. I guess maybe not bit it, but you know what I mean. Got shot by Israeli forces during a raid in a refugee camp. Since the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack, Israel's cracked down on Palestinians in the West Bank. In Gaza, 2 people were killed by an Israeli airstrike in a refugee camp. So an airstrike on a refugee camp. And there was also another strike that killed 1 Palestinian in central Gaza and injured 2 others. So a bunch of refugee camps being attacked, the majority of these with bombs. So isn't that great? Speaking of bombs, we got Israeli DM orders IDF to escalate demolitions in southern Lebanon. So it looks like they're continuing the destruction occurring over in Lebanon. Here's a picture of military vehicles destroying solar panels in Debel, Lebanon. So more destruction occurring there. Nothing looking like it's going to slow down at all. At least we're not getting reports of death, I guess. We have an interesting story here, too, in regards to Syria. We have a little bit of this weird mix-up where Tom Barak, which he's a U.S. ambassador to Syria. I believe he was also the ambassador to Turkey. He might have like a couple other places the ambassador to. He was also a guy who had some interesting connections to Epstein. One of these days I need to do a segment on him. But he's usually pretty good at walking the Zog line. But he had a little bit of a kick up here, although he ended up backing off of it. But I do think it's either way. It's still interesting little snafu worth digging into. The U.S. ambassador to Turkey said the Golan Heights should be returned to Syria. Trump recognized the territory as part of Israel. Speaking with Mario Nafal on Friday, Tom Barak said, in the Golan with Syria, they still occupy the Golan against the United Nations resolutions against all the international order, which has said the Golan is Syria's. 1967, Israel seized the Golan Heights from Syria during the Six-Day War. Damascus failed to reclaim its territory during the Yom Kippur War in 1973. Then in 1981, Tel Aviv annexed the Golan Heights and built several settlements into the territory, ignoring UN resolutions. No other nation recognized the Golan as Israeli until 2019, when Trump declared it was Israeli territory. Earlier this month, Colombia also recognized Israel's claim. Bashar al-Assad was overthrown in 2024. That was a Syrian president. The IDF invaded the region surrounding the Golan, and the IDF has continued to expand its occupation of Syria slowly. We've been covering, kind of semi-frequently these incursions into Syria occurring there. In an interview with Nafal, Barak said Israel was unlikely to continue its occupation of southern Lebanon. Bullshit. No matter what they're doing in the long run, I think they're looking and saying that it's probably unlikely that anybody is going to allow us to do that. America's support is waning. Even the young Democrats are coming against them, he explained. Barak, who is also serving as the U.S. envoy to Iraq in Syria, so it's Iraqi, is also discussed a recent Israeli airstrike in Idlib, Syria. He suggested the attack was a mistake, despite top Israeli officials saying it was a threat to Turkey. He also warned Tel Aviv's actions could have unintended consequences. Barak went on to say the Israeli attack could have been intended to bait Turkey into an escalation ahead of the October elections in Israel. Pretty dicey stuff for Barak to say, especially, if you paid attention for any number of time, he is one who usually runs the Goy Slop Zog line. So kind of interesting seeing him. But now he has backed off of these statements. Here's an update on this. Tom Barak walked back the remarks he made on Friday. United States policy on the Golan was set by Trump in 2019 and is unchanged, he sent a statement to the AP. So just kind of funny. We've entered, even at the very least, just interesting that they can't even keep track of this ridiculousness of all of this, of essentially Israel's land grabs they can't even keep track of. So you got the literally the ambassador mixing it all up on the world stage. But continuing on, we have this last on the foreign policy front, although kind of a little bit of a weird story here. But let's be real, we all know that Israel's been sponsoring Ted Cruz pretty overtly for a very long time. Looks like perhaps they're trying to do it overtly, if that makes sense. Apparently Israel's sponsoring ads on Ted Cruz's podcast, is that legal? This is a post over at Responsible Statecraft. This is written by Connor Eccles and Nick Cleveland Stout. This is kind of, you guys may recall we covered a while back this whole iHeartMedia story. I believe it was that guy was a former campaign manager for Trump. He was the kind of the one who was being essentially contracted by the Israeli military or by Israel for propaganda, and so that's how you heard a lot of these different like Eyal Yacobi and all different this influencer, that influencer who are being sponsored by Israel. That's how all that shit played out. Like Israel's essentially sponsoring some podcast guy here in the States. Ted Cruz is one of these guys. I guess he's part of iHeartMedia. He has his own podcast, which I was vaguely aware of, but now I guess I didn't realize how big. I don't know, I'd heard about his podcast in passing before, but I just didn't know like how significant it was. I didn't know if this was a thing he does occasionally, but apparently he has a fairly regular podcast. It just seems weird to see I guess doesn't AOC do something like that too? It's just like a vlog or some shit like that. But anyways, the Israeli military or government is running advertisements on a popular podcast hosted by Ted Cruz, raising questions about whether the staunchly pro-Israel lawmaker is indirectly receiving campaign funding from a foreign country. Radio and podcast giant iHeartMedia has syndicated Cruz's show Verdict with Ted Cruz since 2022. Oh shit, it's been around for a while, huh? Because of lobbying-related restrictions, the company cannot legally pay the senator for ad revenue. But it turns out that's not the only way to ensure the money benefits Cruz. Under an unusual licensing deal, iHeartMedia agreed to donate revenue associated with the show's advertising sales to the Truth and Courage PAC, a super PAC dedicated to ensuring that Ted Cruz is reelected to the United States Senate. The company has given at least $1,738,000 of digital revenue to the Truth and Courage PAC since 2023, according to Federal Election Commission filing. So you see this loophole occurring here? Be on the lookout for politicians getting a whole lot more podcasts going forward, especially as we see these wave of politicians no longer being comfortable with openly just taking APAC funding, stuff like that. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we see these sorts of scams of sorts going forward. The agreement has drawn significant scrutiny from watchdog groups, some of which filed a complaint against Cruz and the FEC alleging he brazenly violated laws that bar candidates from receiving corporate donations. Though the senator admitted to having met with representatives from the company to discuss the acquisition of the show, the agency ruled in his favor, finding that there was no available information to indicate that Cruz solicited, directed, received, transferred, or spent the funds iHeart paid to the PAC. Cruz's role was limited to hosting the podcast, and he does not appear to have been involved with a decision for iHeart to pay the PAC, meaning that he did not direct or solicit any funds, the commission found. Seems a little bit of a technicality here. The Israeli government-funded ad revenue appears to operate in a similar gray area. The advertisements, which are part of the $7 million I Am Israel campaign launched in June, are geared toward encouraging Christians to visit the country and see biblical sites for themselves. Israel's a destination. It's a revelation where every site you've studied, every scripture you've memorized, every sermon that's ever moved you suddenly has an address, a landscape, a heartbeat. Ben Ferguson, Cruz's co-host, says in one ad, "This is the trip that changes not just how you see the Holy Land, but how you see everything." Ferguson then urges listeners to start planning your trip today and tells them to follow Visit Israel accounts on social media. The ads do not disclose that Visit Israel is a public-facing entity of the Israeli Ministry of Tourism, so directly associated with the military, or with the, no, I keep saying military, but with the government there. The campaign appears to exploit a loophole in election financing laws. candidates and PACs are banned from receiving any funding directly or indirectly from foreign nationals, according to the FEC. But Cruz would only run afoul of campaign finance laws if Israel explicitly earmarked its contribution to the PAC, said Greg Holman, a leading expert on campaign finance laws and an ethics lobbyist at Public Citizen. Now, I do want to back up and rehash that because I do find that somewhat interesting because this is a weird situation when it comes to like financing politicians. Like, this is because I have ads. I have ads on my show. If you listen to on podcasts, it has automated ads. I have no input whatsoever into those ads. So I have people every once in a while tell me, haha, there's this funny ad or this thing that's very against what you stand for. And they're like, I had no say in it. Whatever. If fucking, I don't know, Planned Parenthood wants to give me money, and I'm like, I can't stop them. So like, whatever. I think they're kind of wasting their money there. But I don't know if you remember it in there, like one of the reasons why they're saying Cruz is able to get away from this is because he didn't direct these funds. He didn't it's some of the technicalities of how like the agency of him being involved. So I guess it's more that this was kind of just, this is how it was set up or arranged. Maybe the catch here is because it's arranged by his co-host, as they're saying here. But I do think it's worthwhile mentioning, this isn't even automated ads or something like that. That's then going to his PAC or something, which, okay, sure, whatever. Maybe that would leave some open for corruption, but they're just automated. No, they're directly reading the ads. Now, Cruz isn't reading them, it says. It's literally his co-host, but they are reading the ads. So, I find it hard to yes, you could say Cruz isn't involved, but it's dude, your show is literally doing direct fucking ad reads. They're like, are you just doing it for funsies? It's obviously there's a kickback here. So I don't know, whatever. Either way, interesting story. At least something to be aware of with how money is moving around these days. I'm not going to bore you and read the whole piece. You can dig into that more on your own. But something to keep an eye on. I wouldn't be least bit surprised if we see more politicians with podcasts going forward. Seems a good way to hide some money. But with that, let's roll in the chat, say some good mornings, and then we will get into our first titled segment of the day, the Candace Cleanup Crew. Good morning, Elliot James. Good morning, good morning. Morning dump offered for Ballad Pure. I have no idea what Ballad Pure is, but good morning to you. Good morning, just Will says, Casey Musgrave, just letting you know she's a dude like Katy Perry. Man, you are really off this dude thing. I didn't really get a good look at her. Maybe she is a dude. One of the boys, and then you're you're one of the boys, and then you're using the reasoning Shania Twain's "Man, I Feel Like a Woman." Okay, that was definitely a girl power sort of song, and Man is in there, so maybe Shania Twain's a dude. I don't know. Good morning, Quali the Dragon. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, 6R, saying he's a grifter. I'm assuming, yep, talking about Ted Cruz for sure. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, JC. Tom as well, same place as me. Did not really, I'd heard it mentioned, but when I hear Ted Cruz as a podcast, I imagine that he's done maybe a couple for when I hear some politicians oh, go check out my podcast. I imagine he has 4 podcasts, and they're probably stuff explaining specific policy positions or something stupid. It's probably just for campaigning purposes, not an actual regular podcast of any sort. But no, he actually has a podcast. It's 2022, I guess. So, all right, let's get into the latest. Let's talk about the Candace Cleanup Crew. Thought it was kind of wild over the weekend. For those, I don't normally pay attention to this little bit on Twitter here. It's the trending thing. I don't really ever look at that. I probably should. If I was more grifty, I'd probably pay better attention to it. But there was over here, was it trending right here? Over the weekend, for some reason, the whole Dave Smith having Candace go on his show to talk about the whole Charlie Kirk debate ended up being one of those things. Now, I guess I heard people were saying, I saw some people posting about it, kind of oh, this made it. I thought it was a little bit bizarre because I did look into it. I was kind of just curious. I saw on the side there, I was what the fuck? I did think it was a little bit weird. It wasn't even a tweet that had that much engagement all that much. It has 450 likes. Now, I do think Dave quote tweeted and stuff, so it did get a little bit more movement, but even still, I don't know how they figure out what's trending, what's not. It didn't feel like that much of a blip, but whatever. I don't fucking know. I have heard people saying that it's more specific to you, but either way, it did catch my interest. It caught my interest a little bit for sure. So here is the origin here. So I figure let's start from like what the trending is here. Now this guy right here, John William Sherrod, I've seen him a handful of times here. I gotta be real. Generally speaking, my innate bias with this guy is always like, ugh, just insufferable, fucking annoying faggot. Like I don't even remember much about him. I just know every time I've seen him, he's always complaining about somebody and in the most. I don't know. I don't know. I can't even put a finger on it. I vaguely have seen him show up here and there, and a lot of times he is kind of doing what he's doing in this specific example, kind of complaining at Dave Smith or somebody else here. But I gotta be real. This is one of these occasions where I have a little bit of, sometimes, oh no, one of these shitty people's making a semi-good point. Now, I do think some of the stuff in here he's pretty gay about still. But either way, let's jump in here. I guess to back up a little bit, for those who aren't aware, Candace did go on Dave Smith's show recently. I believe it was like one of the first shows she went on, if not the first show she went on after the so-called Great Debate or whatever, aside from her show. Dave also did his like post-debate show too. Though I think we may have talked about it on our Candace episode. I don't know if we mentioned that, but either way, he did. He had a weird take. You could see on the thumbnail he did the she won thing. It was very strained, like coverage from his side of it, of like, oh, I want to tell you how Andrew Wilson's so great or whatever, but yet Candace won, which I think is fucking retarded. Which we'll get into more of that. But either way, just kind of letting you know where this is coming from. Dave Smith's getting a lot of shit from people for having essentially the perception of essentially sweeping for Candace Owens, is I guess probably maybe one of the best ways to put it, perhaps. Or these people are always framing it like disrespecting Charlie's memory, which I don't know, it feels a little bit melodramatic and faggoty to me. But also, I got to be real, I don't particularly care about Charlie Kirk that much. I mean, I'm not like someone who wants to go out of my way to like be shitty to him after the fact that he's dead. Although I'm also not the sort of person who like clutches pearls over, oh, how dare you say something about somebody because they're dead. I just don't fucking care. I don't care. Like, it's either true or it's not. So this whole like the memory of him, whatever. Anyways, this is what. So on August 18th, this guy posted. He says, Dave Smith just hosted Candace. He said he didn't push back on anything she said. In fact, he fawned all over her and joined her in attacking Teep USA, Andrew Colvett, and Miss Erica Kirk. He also permitted her to launder pro-Russian, pro-Iranian, and anti-U.S. propaganda. Scumbag. And then he took a picture or a screenshot, I meant to say, of Dave Smith's post saying "Go live with legend Candace." I wish it'd shown the thumbnail there, because it literally is. I think the thumbnail says "She won," and just guys, I think has a picture of Candace. So kind of grifty in that way, announcing where he's at, from the jump, thinking Candace won it, whatever. And he quote tweeted it again. He goes, "What makes this extra infuriating to me is that Charlie Kirk was good to Dave Smith. Charlie took criticism for inviting Dave to his event to publicly debate Josh Hammer, but now Charlie is gone and he can't help further Dave's career, so Dave moves on to ride the coattails of the woman who is terrorizing Charlie's widow and closest friends, the woman who has admitted she's working to get Charlie's murderer acquitted. I looked up to, and respected Dave Smith for years, but he's become a bad person." Now, I'll say I do have inroads. I do think there is, I gotta be real, there's some level of truth to the riding the coattails of Candace. I'm sorry. It's gotten quite pathetic, frankly. I just kind of embarrassing. And not even just Dave. I've seen on others as well. Dave's just kind of a good example in this given moment. But yeah, she's still kind of, I also did, for a long period of time, looked up to and respected Dave Smith. I had a little bit of a falling out with him, a while back. And honestly, my opinion is part of why I think I had that falling out. At least my perspective was I was kind of, it revealed to me some pretty resounding intellectual dishonesty. Then you kind of start noticing things, and I don't know. People are fallible human beings, so people do fuck up here and there. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything too much here. But I do remember the thing that we had our falling out over was I did find to be pretty fucking wild, pretty crazy example of intellectual dishonesty. So I was pretty disgusted by it, and honestly, I'm kind of seeing more of the same vein of what I'm talking about coming out here. Just very much, we'll get into that, but I do think you very much overstaying it, a little bit gay. Oh no. The woman who has admitted she's working to get Charlie's murder acquitted. Okay, I do think there's something to that. Dave goes, "You're an idiot. This type of analysis requires thinking, and that's not your strong suit. Charlie never helped further my career." which that's not true. He did, but I will say that like John's overstating it. So if I hadn't done that one debate with Hammer, I'm in the exact same spot. That's not true. I mean, I'd say he's generally in the same spot. I don't think it makes that big of a difference. He says, I'm also not riding coattails. I had a conversation, which this is the thing people always like, oh, I had a conversation, which that's doing a whole lot of heavy lifting, which I guess you technically don't. You can have anybody you want at any fucking time ever on your podcast, and you can just have a conversation. You don't have to give anybody any pushback ever. That's fine. You don't. But you may deal with people going, oh, wow, you're kind of a pathetic faggot, aren't you? You may deal with that. You're welcome to have that conversation, but people may from the outside looking in go, wow, what a fucking gay, feminine conversation. How gay is this? Why don't you just get down on your knees and suck their dick already? Like, people can say that. You can say, oh, I just want to have that conversation, but we from the outside looking in go, oh, wow, this conversation's quite pathetic, and I don't know, you think you might want to give them a little pushback. You don't have to. I mean, your choice. But anyways, because the projection is ugly and stupid, you are someone who has absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Because Dave, I don't know how else to view this when you offered Candace no pushback while she continued to make sinister accusations, implications about Charlie's wife and closest friends on your show. I'm someone who's listened to 99% of every podcast you've released for the past 11 years. You've changed in a good way. Now, I will say, especially for the interest of this segment that we're going to do, so I can let you know what I have even, watched. I don't listen to Dave's. I used to listen to every one of Dave Smith's episodes, but in the past few months, 3, 4, 5-ish months, I've stopped. It's kind of frankly to me devolved into sort of kind of slop. I mean, whatever, great. I'm glad your numbers are up. But anyways, so yeah. Anyway, where was I going with that? Where I am. How much of his show I've watched. Now, I haven't watched, I watched part of his post-debate recap, and I kind of got the gist of it, maybe watched like 20, 30 minutes, and it was like, this is fucking gay, and bounce. So I don't know all the specific details. I get the general vibe. And then the one where he had Candace on, I've only seen clips. And, I mean, you guys feel free. I'm sure there's people in the chat that are going to disagree with me or whatever. Feel free if there's something I missed, but I think I think we kind of got the vibe of what the fuck that episode was. Let's be real. I think John's honestly kind of mostly kind of generally, at least compass-wise in the general right direction. Very much oversaying it, being a bit of a homo about it. He's saying what's ugly is what Candace has been doing to Erica and TPUSA for nearly a year. She has been terrorizing Charlie's grieving wife and friends. It's evil, man. Now, I will say to this, I am someone who has myself stated many times that, like, Erica is sketchy. Something about the whole Erica situation, very sketchy. It does feel weird. It feels feels odd. You dig into her past, the relationship, shit glows. But there's also, you do need to bear in mind, and this is kind of part of the flip side of the craziness of the certitude of people like Candace, is you're like, you could be wrong. Like, that's like, it's like almost like a cornerstone of intellectual honesty is like, you could be wrong. I mean, almost 9,900 and like, almost always you could generally be wrong. There might be something you're missing. You could be wrong. And with the Erica thing, it's like there have been a lot of crazy insinuations. Like what was there, that one fucking clip where she's talking about how gross, how the Candace was going on about how like fucking Erica never loved him. And you're just like, what an insane thing to do. Like you need, and she literally had her opportunity just recently to present all of her evidence. Did she? What fucking evidence? Please. And all of this, terrorizing this poor lady, frankly, don't get me wrong. Now, I've done my fair share of, shit talking and stuff like that, but I don't have the size of a platform. I don't have the relationship proximity to somebody like an Erica. I also haven't been making the sort of claims that Candace has been making as well. So I've just been mostly like, I don't know what's going on there. That bitch glows. And that's about it. Prove me wrong. So there is a lot of truth to that as well. So I got to give him that. There is something particularly pretty gross about what Candace is doing there, to be pretty real. Dave says, impressive analysis. Okay, whatever. It's just getting gay now. But you get the general idea. So John overstating it, maybe in a sappy, overly effeminate sort of way that I wouldn't have, and maybe in some ways not quite being correct. But I think he's kind of on something, unfortunately. And kind of to my point, here's a clip. Here is, I think this is like kind of, from my understanding, like one of the introductory sort of bits from Dave's conversation with Candace. So you guys tell me, does this come off as intellectually honest to you? Does this come up as someone with a backbone, or is this someone come off of as someone just, vigorously fucking, rubbing her fucking, her lady bean? Like, what is this to you? You tell me.
We were here to debate our claims that Tyler Robinson, the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, versus me saying, and he did take my tongue in cheek mocking them for saying overwhelming, but I allowed it to stand, that there's just as much evidence that he could be a patsy. We're here and we don't have any concrete proof one way or the other.
Yeah, which I think that.
All right, right off. Okay, actually, let's Dave talk. I'm not going to jump in yet.
That is, I got to say, I think that's a very reasonable position to take, and particularly, again, like I said, I really do think that
Let's back that up. Let's back that up one more time. Now, bear in mind, there was a little bit of a cope, a little bit of a caveat thrown into Candace that came off pretty weak, but just notice the subtle reframing here, and then just notice what Dave throws in.
We were here to debate our claims that Tyler Robinson, the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, versus to stand. There's just as much evidence that he could be a patsy. We're here and we don't have any concrete proof one way or the other.
Okay. All right. A lot of hedging, a lot of caveat in there, but as I stated when I covered this, my post debate or whatever the fuck here, is what they came to argue. There were two separate, I guess not a proposition, because technically, logically speaking, a proposition, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, proposition is usually the singular thing, but I don't know what word we want to use here. I guess a proposition would work for the purposes of here, but it was a confusing sort of setup. Essentially, as she just said there, they both came to defend their own separate claims. She came to defend that there's overwhelming evidence that that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. I would argue she basically presented none. And she even just there goes, oh, the tongue-in-cheek overwhelming, but I let it stand. Okay, whatever, you let it stand. So, overwhelming. Hell, even if you take out the overwhelming, let's be real. There's just not really, I haven't really seen anything aside from circumstantial evidence here. Now, if you do get into the weeds of this debate, she will, well, what about this thing? What about that thing? What about this thing? And these are things that are just well, that's weird. And that's it. And that's fine. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem bringing up weird things. But then from there, she would not even be able to argue. She's not even intelligent enough to argue from okay, well then how does that thing in any way indicate or is in any way evidence of your claim? And she's basically not in any way able to support it. Any of those weird things out there, for example, we'll get into the whole Israeli cell phones. That's not evidence of a patsy. This is part of the problem people have. They just don't understand basic fucking logic. That's not evidence of a patsy. That's just evidence of 12 Israeli cell phones. Honestly, that's probably just evidence Charlie Kirk is in the vicinity as much as that dude was fucking, zioed up. So you have to then from there take a node of information and then in some way, shape, or form prove how that is in any way indicative of your claim. And she in no way, in any way displayed that. But go off, tell us how that's super fucking reasonable.
Yeah, which I think that is, I got to say, I think that's a very reasonable position to take.
And even then at the end, to even try to sort of reframe it, sort of then goes, oh, well, it's just as much evidence. No, I mean, I am someone who very much is skeptical of the state's claim here. But you're out of your fucking mind if you're trying to say there's just as much evidence that he's a patsy to the alternative. They have other evidence. We may need to, there may be a getting into the weeds and dispelling of this evidence and going, oh, this isn't, but there's no fucking evidence. This is just retarded.
And particularly, again, like I said, I really do think that in the big picture, the biggest piece of evidence that I think really came out that backed you up. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how else to
what evidence, Dave?
Look at this. Other than, if you're being honest, you got to go. When you had been conducting this investigation publicly for months already, and your podcast was the #1 podcast in the world. So it's not this was this was a thing that was known, that you were
Right.
on the attack about theories, saying this one didn't add up, and you're looking at what else happened. And then the director of counterterrorism resigned over a war that we...
So just to back up real quick, this is what Dave is trying to say is some sort of evidence. Some fucking glowy did something. Joe Kent, which this is going to come back up again. Keep in mind, all of these fucking fed up faggots that fucking lurk around Dave and the sort of people he gets information from. And And also, if anyone's been paying attention to the ins and outs of the Charlie Kirk case, certain names that keep coming keep coming up of these, these certain fetted up faggots.
Just launched, and the first thing he says when he goes on the other biggest news show in the world is it sits down on Tucker Carlson's. Now, by the way, I had gotten info that Charlie Kirk and stuff about him was going to be all over his resignation.
See, someone told him that Charlie Kirk
resignation letter.
I bet you it was probably Joe Kent.
I had gotten this info like 48 hours before he resigned. So, I
guess not Joe Kent. It was probably honestly through Tucker or something, if I had to guess. Actually, now I say that. So,
in other words, the
son of like CIA fucking royalty.
Intelligence that I got from people close to this was correct. That like a resignation was coming down the pipe. By the time the actual letter came out, there wasn't much about that in there. But on his first interview, he talks all about this, and he goes,
right.
Dude.
So the confirmation here is that Joe Kent left, even though he didn't actually, but he was told through the grapevine by somebody, probably Tucker Carlson, that like, it was going to really be a lot about Charlie Kirk. These sounds like gay little intel games to me. I'm just saying, but let's keep going.
The first thing he says is he goes, dude, Charlie Kirk was screaming in the West Wing about how we have to stop Trump from going to war with Iran.
Which, by the way, that claim, these are all these claims that people keep repeating. Where the fuck did that claim come from? I'm pretty sure that's from Tucker Carlson. Like, I don't, like, if I'm recalling correctly, there's a lot of claims that keep getting repeated, which we'll come back to, like the Israeli things. There's so much that got flooded into this game here that, like, so much of the sourcing here is so, frankly, just fucking retarded because people just get so overwhelmed with this information, that information, and then Candace has just kind of like normalized this idea of just like, well, somebody said, and like, well, who? Don't fucking worry about it. Just trust me, bro. Like, and then like this is supposed to get passed off as some sort of reasonable evidence.
And then he's publicly executed, and then he says, and our investigation was suppressed when there was legitimate foreign, like, I think he said data points or something that should have been pursued. Well, okay, that alone kind of gives license to American citizens to freaking, like, it's in our hands now. And so
right,
I don't know.
Establish a motive. And that's what I was saying. When he starts bringing up this stuff about Israel, it's like, this is a motive that should be explored.
All right, well, let's move on from here. I just think it's frankly pretty pathetic. As Dave is supposed to be the logic guy, Mr. Debate, like, honestly, I guess I'll go and throw it out there. Dave, you want to debate me on, how good of a performance Candace gave here about whether she won? I would be happy to argue. Like, I know I put out my take that I said nobody won, and like, I would actually technically say Andrew won because they were arguing two separate ones. Funny enough, Dave in his post-debate analysis was quick to point out how fucking Andrew Wilson was like gave a 75 to 85% certainty, but I don't remember anyone ever saying Dave pointed out how fucking how Candace gave the flip side 0% certainty. Certainty that like the state's case was correct or whatever, which is completely retarded. And given that they were both arguing separate things, like, yes, I do agree that 75 to 85% is a very strained definition of what one would consider overwhelmingly certain, or whatever. So like, yeah, I'd say probably technically lost on that. It lost his, claim there, but I'd say Candace lost more when she's giving a 0% certainty that the state's case is correct based on no fucking evidence. Like, she's like 0% sure the state case is correct, which is insane to me. I'm sorry, you lost it at that point. It's just, frankly, you're just displaying how fucking stupid you are, which is another kind of pathetic side of all this in the sweeping of it. Is, with these people who present themselves as intelligence or debaters or whatever, which I do agree these are intelligent people. I've seen do impressive things intellectually speaking. So this is what makes it all the more like I struggle to give you a fucking out here. Like, this is just pathetic. Like, the idea that these people don't know what they're doing, it's just kind of sad. Either your thinking is just really degraded that much, or you've just kind of fallen into whatever the fuck this social contagion is, I guess, where we all got to pretend this strong black lady isn't a fucking retard. Here's Andrew Wilson on that thing, which I will say, that's another thing here. It's kind of hard because there's like a 4-hour debate. And let's be real, who the fuck actually really watched this debate? I'd say most people, like most of my audience, if I had to guess, probably most of you did not watch it. And then I'd say probably the higher percentage of people who did watch it were likely, there's probably a good contingent of people watching it who are watching it like I do, in the sense that like, hey, I'm covering it to cover it for other people. And then probably the vast majority of everybody else he was covering were people who were like super in the camp one side or the other. So like at most you have people like me going in there, coming out of here and providing like, hey, this is our take on it. And from there, that's like kind of what I think the masses, you know, kind of get their opinion from. The clips as well, which is the clips thing is what really damned Andrew Wilson, especially the 7 charges thing, that stupid fucking bit. That really screwed him there. That really was like the clip moment and everybody ran with and like, oh yes, go off queen, she won. But really, I do think this was kind of one of these moments where, I mean, unfortunately, I've kind of gone through this like twice. I watched it the first time live, and then I did it like on 2X and listened to the eclectic journalist coverage of it. And even the first time, I was kind of astounded by how fucking stupid she was at times and just not understanding basic concepts. And the second go around really displayed it for it. Now, I think the problem is the majority of people are frankly just kind of, I mean, I may offend some of my audience. Maybe you missed some of this stuff. I'm sorry. But frankly, there's just stuff in there that you're like, you can tell Candace is just not picking up concepts. And you're like, this bitch is just stupid. And I think a lot of people just miss that. But now when you have the Dave Smiths of the world out there, and then you come out here and you come here and fucking lap her fucking labia as if she did something special here, it's kind of pathetic. But he's Andrew Wilson, kind of laying out why she's a dumb bitch.
I'm just going to be really blunt with you guys. I thought that she was actually quite stupid. I was shocked. I was actually quite stunned.
What I was trying to get at, though, is almost like an IQ test of sorts. And unfortunately, frankly, both of their audiences I don't find to be particularly intelligent audiences. This isn't even really me trying to glaze Andrew Wilson. I mean, he's got his like whatever audience, which are like these low-tier intellectuals, you know, like just learned about debate. And they're like, so they're easily dazzled with debate tricks as well. So this is by no means trying to glaze Andrew or his audience, but let's keep going.
I didn't think that she was a very smart person at all. I had good reason to believe that going in, but I didn't think that she was a particularly good interlocutor. She never made any points at all. She would just kind of ramble. It was just kind of incoherent babble and ramble, and anytime I would get to the point or make her address an actual point, she would go back to rambling incoherently. She didn't understand what inductive reasoning was. I even spelled it out in a very, very simplistic way. Inductive reasoning would be like if, then, and, or. So if I'm 20 minutes away from my job, and I'm supposed to be there in 5 minutes, then I can assume I'm going to be late, right? That would be an inductively reasoned out position. When I explained that to her and then asked her to give me her induction for how we get to Israel, TPUSA, France, and all these other people who are involved in the conspiracy to murder Kirk, she actually didn't even understand what I was asking her.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it was that was the toughest part of the debate.
Yeah. That's actually one thing people don't realize. Part of the reason why this came off as this like resounding win for a lot of people is because Andrew was literally arguing with someone who wasn't understanding the things he was saying as he was saying them, and she's saying them with yes, boss, queen, fucking certitude like a fucking idiot, and just repeating fucking talking points. So that was the problem he was dealing with. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I guess he should have kind of known that. I don't think it takes a whole lot of critical thinking and Candace coverage to come to that conclusion. So I think he probably should have been aware of that and factor that into it, but whatever. Either way, still a struggle, still very much a struggle, and I sympathize with that.
Was that she actually didn't even understand half of what I was saying.
Explain that, actually, because you do a ton of these debates, and is it sort of like one of those things? I have a good friend who's a professional tennis player. He said it's really hard to play against bad tennis players because you can't actually serve and volley like you've been training for years to do. You actually it gets easier if the quality of the opponent
You're
is better.
anticipating where a pro would hit it back, and they just hit it some other spot.
Yeah, exactly. Is it kind of like that where the person across from you is not even keeping up with the basic blocking and tackling of a debate? It's almost more challenging for you in that way?
Well, here, I'll demonstrate it for you. So you just asked me a pointed question. What your pointed question is, hey, Andrew, if somebody doesn't know what they're doing on the other side of this thing, does it actually make it more difficult to do this thing, right? Now, I could just say, well, yes, of course, and then we would move on with the conversation. But if I was going to be Candace Owens, I would say, Well, what we're talking about here is how I feel about the various things that I'm talking about when it comes to debate. And you say that I'm not a very skilled interlocutor, but we have evidence of me being a skilled interlocutor. You can look back at all the times that I've done interlocuting with other people, and I think that we can all see what's going on here.
Yeah.
So you see, like, you see how that's completely unhelpful.
And he nailed it. He nailed it there. That bitch is retarded for certainty. Here's another clip from Nathan Livingston. He's another one I kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I see him occasionally, and I feel like sometimes these come off as, I don't know, he's going out of his way. But he is someone who comes off as vicious. He's one of those guys who was early on with the Tate stuff before everyone was really ready to accept it. He's been kind of early on with the Candace stuff, so I don't know. I do always kind of get the vibe he's coming off super hard in the paint, so I get the ick, I guess you could say, a little bit off of it. I have, but whatever. With that, though, let's go through this clip. There's a clip of his apparently saying Candace caught lying to Anna Kasparian. So for the interest of fairness, let's watch this video, see if that really is the case. I figured this clip would be kind of good to kind of display. I feel like there's like a reframing occurring after the fact of the debate. Now, I'm not someone who really got tied into the initial, chicanery of the back and forth, the initial debate stuff. That stuff came off as gay to me. But I did kind of get the shtick from the beginning pretty early on, and they've said it multiple times. They're both arguing their own separate propositions, and this is what it is. So, let's watch this clip. This is her saying, it's just a reframing. This is apparently he's saying that saying now that she never claimed Tyler Robbins is completely innocent. I guess he has a clip saying she said otherwise. So I guess this kind of more points toward the reframing after the fact. And even also maybe kind of sloppy kind of claims being thrown all about in the way in which she does so, and then backs off later. So here is a clip on that. And I know she has recently kind of taken the which I think is pretty reasonable, the idea of that, like, well, I'm not saying that he for sure had nothing to do with it, but he was, maybe part of some sort of group or whatever. So patsy, and not in the specific sense of that he literally didn't do it, but in the more vague sense of like he just wasn't the lone wolf. But now here's a clip saying, I guess, claiming that apparently she said in the past that he was completely innocent. So let's check this out. Apparently from almost about a month ago. So let's watch this.
Very likely that Tyler Robinson is involved in some way. Is he the only person involved?
And I've been saying that.
You have been saying that. Yes, you have been saying that. Yeah.
Like, I've never said I think he's completely innocent. I want you to understand that, by the way. These influencers are calling for the murder of an innocent man. Like, I've never said I think he's completely innocent. They have got their guy, and it is Tyler Robinson, with not a shred of evidence. It's unimaginable to me to call for the execution of an innocent man without literal overwhelming evidence after the public execution of another innocent man.
Very likely the
okay, now you could play semantic games here. I think he kind of makes his point somewhat, but I guess the if you were to press Candace on this, she would probably be like, well, he's saying, when saying completely innocent, she means completely innocent of like what they are alleging he did, like as in being the lone wolf. Now, like, she might be like, well, he may be guilty of something else, but she'd be like, he's not guilty of that. So there's the out there. Either way, just kind of showing kind of the degree. I mean, all of those statements were kind of ridiculous. What did she say? They're the murder, completely innocent. No, what did she say? With not a shred of evidence, which is also ridiculous. To say they don't have any evidence is kind of ridiculous. The state doesn't have any evidence. I mean, I get it. You can, at the very least, even the video is evidence. You may think that it's not enough evidence, but it's evidence. It's more evidence than anything, I think, on the flip side. Because at least that's, the video thing is indicative of that it's likely him. You look at the apparel matches, yes, it may not be him, and maybe somebody dressed up as him, but I think at the very least it's more constitutes evidence than anything she provided. This is something that looks like him, indicative toward, likely to be him. There's other bits of supporting evidence to this case. But maybe not. I don't know, maybe not. Here's Diligent Dennison with a claim coming in here. As I said, the supporting evidence, one of the many pieces of evidence that they use to kind of uphold this is the claims that he's confessed multiple times. Well, we're getting claims from Diligent Dennison that is no longer the case. This is according to the Tyler Robinson family. He's saying Tyler told his parents he did not kill Charlie Kirk. saying Tyler never confessed to anyone. Tyler's parents were with him at the Washington County Sheriff in the afternoon of September 11th, 2025, and his phone was taken immediately. How would he send Discord? Now, what are we basing this off of? Let's dig a little bit more to this. Now, if I do follow this post, he brings it to another post. I guess he made 2 of these. See if there's anything else we can get out of here. Just kind of rehashing the same stuff there. Doesn't give us any information of where he got this from, but whatever. This is Diligent Denizen. He's giving us just what looks like some sort of screenshot, which I don't know. This could be real. I don't know. So we have this back and forth from June 28th, 2026. We see here. It says, so just to be clear, we don't see any number in here. So nothing to says, so just to be clear, Tyler told his dad, Matt, that he did not kill Charlie Kirk. And the answer, this is at 8:50 p.m. That is correct. And it's the response, does Tyler's parents think he killed Charlie? No. Did the parents call the bishop because they thought Tyler was guilty out of fear for his safety? And it says safety. And we follow this along. And then it goes, when they called the bishop, did they tell him that Tyler killed Charlie Kirk? It goes, no, they were concerned for his safety. And so it goes, so the time the retired sheriff came and picked up Tyler and his parents was on the September 11th in the afternoon? It says yes. So it says, so Tyler never told his parents, the bishop, or the sheriff who gave him the ride that he killed Charlie Kirk. And then you go the response, that is correct. Now, what is this? I mean, let's go through let's scroll through the replies here. Diligent Denizen said they're trying to community note this post using as of yet unproven charging documents, weaponized community notes. Are they saying this is charging documents? Is that what they're saying? Oh, they're trying to, or they're using jar, because I guess when you do a community note, you usually need to provide some sort of thing to refute the point. But considering Diligent does, and it seems to me that he's just making some claim that somebody fucking told him this, and he's not even really making that claim because he doesn't say it. He just says family of Tyler Robinson confirms. So I guess once again we're playing this Candace game to where like the degree to which you trust Diligent Denizen. I mean, okay. I mean, but this is just to me, once again, kind of useless until more comes out. Let's check Grok. Who knows? Maybe there's more of this. Maybe I'm missing something. Let's ask Grok. Like, where the fuck is this coming from? Let's ask it. This is, like maybe I'm missing something from Diligent Denizen's coverage. I'll ask it, what is the source here? We'll see what it says, because... Well, while we wait for that, actually, here we go. It says a post presents screenshot from text claiming Tyler Robinson told his father he did not kill Charlie Kirk. His parents do not believe he did it, and they contacted the bishop. Questions, yada, yada, yada. I'm not seeing anything about any claims of who this is aside from family. Ask what is the source here. This is another kind of fucking semi-useless source. Just somebody said, which we'll come back to this again in a minute. Let's see. Let's see if Grok gives us something more here than just Diligent Denizen said, which I've heard this guy's name come up like once or twice in all this Kirk stuff. So I don't know why in any way we should really believe this guy. This is screenshots of a private text dated June 28th, an unidentified person. Yeah, that's it. So this is kind of fucking useless. So I guess keep an eye out. That's all we got. This is the sort of pathetic sources we're dealing with. But let's check out this other clip. Here's Nathan Livingstone again, this Milk Bar TV guy. Let's check out this clip where he's saying this is about the DNA thing, Lance Twiggs' DNA being found on the rifle or whatever, and there was this back and forth on all of the degrading or this or that. Apparently, a lot of people thought this was a big deal, and it seems to me, from the little bit of digging I've done, this comes from a misunderstanding of what all this means. With that, I'll let this guy tell you more.
Candace Owens said this today.
That's how you build goodwill with the public. Take accountability. Like when we make honest mistakes on the show, we always own them. We always correct them as immediately as we have more information, as publicly as when we first asserted them.
Let me show you how hilarious this statement is coming from Candace Owens. So up until a week before the debate with Andrew Wilson, she was definitively saying that Lance Twiggs' DNA was found on the rifle. pointing to this as evidence that Lance Twiggs was guilty of Charlie Kirk's murder.
Prints which were found on the gun, which of course included Lance Twiggs. More evidence that Lance Twiggs simply took Tyler Robinson's family heirloom of a gun and helped the feds set him up as a patsy. More of his DNA than Tyler's on the gun. That there is objectively more overwhelming evidence that Lance Twiggs did this crime. Lance Twiggs has his DNA on the rifle. Well, it's Tyler's rifle, but Lance's DNA is more prominent. How does that happen?
Except that this is blatantly wrong. Lance Twiggs' DNA has absolutely not been proven to be on the rifle. Let's count how many times Andrew Wilson tries to get Candace Owens to correct this.
And now this right here is another great example of what I was kind of getting at earlier with the dilemma of debating a sheboon. When you're debating a retard who doesn't even understand the concepts that you're trying to lay out. Now this is where she does, I think, understand what she's trying to lay out. She does, as you watch these clips, you kind of see her seemingly trying to avoid what Andrew's getting at. But that's the flip side. Even when she's not playing dumb, she can just play dumb. So here you go.
On the record. And
when she's not being dumb, she can just play dumb.
Doesn't take accountability.
It's believable.
Did they say who else had fingerprints on the gun?
They named Matt Robinson explicitly.
Okay.
And this was a part of the testimony where she was speaking about how they got samples.
So are you saying that Twiggs
Would you like me to
fingerprints?
finish my statement?
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying.
I'm trying to finish the answer, but it can't be clarified until the answer comes out of my mouth.
Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson, it could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
Was Lance Twiggs' DNA on the rifle, as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered that in the first part. We can't say that for certainty. I told you the context of which they spoke about
For
those
certainty.
things.
So no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty until we know what other the 5 sets of prints were on
So that
there.
would be no as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say no as far as I know for certain.
I told somebody to make a fucking a hyper reel of the super reel of the for certainties. This is almost it, and it's kind of perfect. I don't think that's a proper euphemism. Although the more I hear it, the more I'm going to end up accidentally saying it in real life. I'm going to start saying for certainty like a fucking retard, just because I've been hearing Candace say it over and over again, and I'm just going to insert in normal life.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say that for certainty.
If your energy here is going to be like you're my dad and you can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall.
Now, it's only at this point later in the debate where Andrew Wilson goes to pull up a clip of Candace Owens stating that Lance Twiggs' DNA was found on the rifle, when she suddenly gets incredibly defensive.
Twiggs' DNA clip.
Yeah.
They're going to pull it up just to have you respond
Well,
to it.
you don't have to play it because, like, if you're saying that when I initially watched it, I thought that Lance Twiggs' DNA, like, he was directly responding to that.
She is making excuses.
Because the testimony was a bit confusing. They started by saying that they were going to, like, explaining how they got the samples, and they said Lance, Matt, and Amber Robinson, how they got their DNA samples, and then they started speaking about the gun and said, multiple prints were found on them, and then they moved and they said Lance Twiggs' DNA was found on the screwdriver. When I went back and rewatched it, I realized, well, they haven't officially said that Lance or Amber are on the gun. But just to be clear, whenever I make a mistake, I just correct it.
The only reason that she corrected the record here with her confidently asserting that Lance Twiggs' DNA was on the rifle was because Andrew Wilson paid $300,000 to sit her down and confront her with that mistake. Do we really believe that he hadn't have done that she would have gone on her show and admitted that mistake? If so, then why didn't she?
That's how you build goodwill with the public. You take accountability. Like when we make honest mistakes on the show, we always own them. We always correct them as immediately as we have more information, as publicly as when we first asserted them. I had to rewatch testimony again. It's like 9 hours a day. It got very scientific when they were speaking about this.
By the way, that's complete bullshit. This whole, and I think it's worth remembering with her, what her reasoning, she got pressed by Andrew and all of this at some point of kind of why people, anyone should take the things you say. For example, she was trying to claim, essentially pass off as evidence, some trust me, bro, if somebody told me something in some email or whatever the fuck, that she literally, her reasoning is well, my audience has built up a rapport with me and they've learned to trust me. And because, then she goes, oh, when I do things wrong, I correct them. Here's an example of her not doing so. There's many other examples. So it's something worthwhile noticing that, hey, she's proffering up her reputation. I know, for one, it's kind of weak. I think it's not the greatest methodology to go about, finding truth. but also she's kind of has a crazy history of being, I don't know, crazy all over the place when it comes to her journalism. I'm going to have to hunt down the thread Ken made one day, Ken Silva, the number of different like things she said she was going to do and then never did, but yeah, anyways. But let's move on from this. I told you guys we'd come back around on the Joe Kent sort of thing, talking about this Candace cleanup crew. There's one thing that a number of people picked up on, and I was kind of alluding to it in that beginning little clip we played with Dave and Candace there. But there's one thing people picked up here. This clip right here. Let me make sure I still got audio. I do. Here is this specific claim right here.
How you feel about things? Yeah.
One second, if I can bring up the audio on that. Sorry if it's really quiet.
Evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk.
I have already said, and if you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who
And other
Israel.
than intuition, how you feel?
I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved.
Oh, there you go. I got the audio up. Sorry, it was quiet. Let me try that again. My bad. Let's do it again.
And other than intuition, how you feel about things? Do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day.
All right. Now, that claim right there, for one, she mentioned that. This person picked up, as I've seen many other people, she goes, wait, what? Joe Kent noted there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. Did Candace Owens just admit that Joe Kent was the source of the anonymous leaks that Israeli cell phones were on the UVU campus? It says, sure as heck sounds that way. It says, I have yet to find Joe Kent ever making that claim publicly. I've seen many people claim that. I haven't seen anyone showing where he has made that claim publicly. Goes, so how does Candace know it came from Kent? I think she just accidentally identified Mel's anonymous administration source. Now, Kent's been another character who's come up as sources and some of this in and out, on some of this stuff and all this, Candace's crusade. There's been people who've alluded. I forget if they ever were actually able to pinpoint if it basically was him or not, but there's been a number of claims that, many people after the fact kind of think it was him. I swear one of them was confirmed, because I remember playing on this show like months ago where Andrew Colvett was even kind of complaining about Joe Kent leaking the information. I forget what it was. I think it might have been that group chat thing, actually. The first one that, that Candace dropped, that everyone, got that initial, like, oh shit, she might actually have some stuff. And it looks like she did. But that's the kind of thing when you have fed sources. It's like they will feed you legit shit. But there's also, it may not always be that. There may be another game at play. And so this idea, like, oh, well, look at my sources. And this is, funny enough, back to the whole, like, reputation laundering of Candace. Her whole thing is like, well, that's why, you can trust me. You can trust my sources. So, like, hell, even if you actually, for some reason, you're a fucking idiot and you're like, I'm just going to trust Candace despite the fact she's shown herself in no way worthy of that. Even if you are going to do that, you're like, okay, well, who the fuck are her sources? And then, we go to another level. Okay, looking like it's kind of like Joe Kent. The motherfucker who was in the CIA, was some fucking, what was he, like a Green Beret? I know everyone likes to bring up his wife died. It's like, yeah, okay. Like, that's sad. But that doesn't, why do we all of a sudden then go for like, well, he's some fucking, hero on our side now? What? Why do we jump to there? Motherfucker is CIA. He just got out of a fucking glowy position under Tulsi Gabbard. Anyways, the idea that anyone trusts these people is retarded. But either way, here's another one. So another example, or people pointing out, well, shit, looks like Candace may have just confirmed that, once again, Kent is being some sort of source for this information coming out. Also, kind of to the point of these sources and kind of some of these things, how they've, kind of gotten, I don't know, how do I put this? How they've gone out. For example, this 12 Israeli cell phones, this came initially, I believe, this is the first place I've seen it, many people as well, is Village Crazy Lady Mel, who I like. I've had on the show. She's cool. Now, she has herself said, I believe one of her exes was like a Green Beret. She's even said she's like friends with Joe Kent and stuff like that. So then you're kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe she's just passing off information. Maybe she's just perfectly like, oh, I think I'm getting legit info for somebody. I have no idea what games are going on here. The problem is we're just getting to such a level of telephone among people who have differing degrees of glow, significant amounts of glow, that you just get to the point where like, I don't think I can fucking trust this info. And kind of continuing on, here's Viva Fry pushing Kent on this. I believe Viva just so happened to be one of the people who followed up, who end up having, just so happened to have booked Joe Kent shortly after this great debate. So here we have Viva Fry asking him about this very thing. So we get to see how Joe Kent responds to it.
Now, I don't want to get you in trouble. You'll say if you can't answer it. You said there were reasons to look into certain foreign nexuses, and without getting specific, I wanted to play this. This was one lingering question. It's funny, like, Joe, you put something on the internet, and it's a straight up, as authentic, sincere question as you can, and people read it as an accusation. I did not intend this to be an accusation at you whatsoever. It was just a statement. It's like, I had not heard this before. Let me just.
If you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously Joe
Carroll
Kent
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be, maybe they were.
It could be students. First of all, and again, this is not an accusation whatsoever. I just hadn't heard that. And in as much as I could look online, I couldn't find if or when you ever did actually assert that. Do we know if there were, whatever you want to call it as, Israeli cell phones on the ground the day Charlie was killed?
I saw the same report that most people did. I think really pretty quick pretty soon after Charlie was killed, there was a news report basically that asserted that. Obviously, this is one I have to give you a weird answer on this one. This is one of those I can't confirm or deny. So if that was the case, I wouldn't be able to say yes or no, because that would come from sensitive collection methods, sources of methods and all that type of stuff. But I think what Candace was pointing at was I was saying that there was still more work to do on the foreign nexus, and then she had seen the reports. I'm sure, like everybody else, I know she reported on them on her show as well. So I think she was just answering questions in a rapid fire fashion and just saying, Joe Kent said there was still more work to do, plus the Israeli cell phones. But
I remembered having heard something along those lines, and I think there was an Israeli cell phone at a hotel, and I just didn't remember or hear you ever say it. And I just want, I heard there was a lot of things that were said that didn't pan out. But hypothetically, broadly speaking, on any given day at any given university, how many foreign cell phones, if one wanted to explain it away or one wanted to find it suspicious, on any given day in a crowd of 3,000 people, how many foreign, what would it be, foreign-based cell phones?
Yeah, a big crowd like that, it wouldn't, especially at a university where they're doing exchanges, and then people.
I do love here that Joe Kent's kind of playing out like it's retarded, which it is. This is a retarded fucking thing that got thrown about. Oh my God, 12 Israeli cell phones when there's thousands of people and Charlie regularly sucked Israeli dick. So what are we doing here?
Forget Utah. A lot of those kids go out and they do missions. So you have a lot of people who travel internationally in Utah because of the Mormon faith. They send their young men, I think, and their young women too, when they're freshmen, sophomores in college, to go out internationally. So there's a lot of international cell phones and cell phone numbers there. Then you got VPNs too. So there's a lot going on there with trying to determine so this kind of goes back to there was definitely a lot more work for us to do, just sorting through the potential, international links. And again, with any kind of investigation or any kind of research, you run down, you got 100 leads and 99.5 of them end up being absolute garbage, meaning nothing. And then you have entire days where all 100 leads meant absolutely nothing, but it was due diligence I still felt that we needed to do.
All right. Worth noting there was no denial. He did this weird denial or not denial, but then kind of came into I sort of couldn't really tell you. And then it became, maybe she really meant this. So there was no denial. And then he kind of played down maybe she really meant this. I forget exactly what he said there, but maybe not. And then he also kind of played it down like it was dumb. So who knows? Maybe that was just, Candace misspeaking in some way, but I think something worth keeping an eye on. But, in the spirit of the name of this segment, the Candace cleanup crew, and I ain't no fucking sweeper for nobody. So I figured instead of sweeping, let's dig up some old shit just for funsies. Had a few things in the old bookmark of some supposed wild shit from Candace's past. Now, I'm not in any way saying any of this stuff is substantive to anything we're talking about, but hey, whatever, fun little dig. That's what we do here. Here's a tweet from Ali at Ali J Kiss. It says, according to newspapers from 2005, Candace Owens got her butt kicked because she allegedly had sex with a boyfriend of a girl from a different high school. Candace claims it was because she's black and got the girl arrested for hate crimes, allegedly. 17-year-old Emily Buckwalter and 2 other teens were charged pursuant to bigotry/bias statute. Some charges brought against the boys she accused of racism and got arrested for in 2007. Similar to the separate 2007 incident that she sued for, the NAACP wanted these teen girls to be convicted. So I guess this is the second? Oh shit, I didn't realize... So I had heard before that she had like gotten somebody for some hate crime, something or other. She claimed some dude just yelled nigger at her or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. But apparently I thought they were referring to this. No, this isn't the only time. Apparently she did the same shit against some broads of some chick she slept with her boyfriend or something like that. So it looks like it was just some dumb chick drama. And then she's like, well, they called me a nigger, and whether or not they did, I don't know. Similar to the, probably didn't, if I had to guess. Similar to the separate 2007 incident that she sued for, the NAACP wanted these teen girls to be convicted. So multiple race grifts from an early age. I think it's also worth keeping in mind how these grifts can end up becoming something else. I mean, hell, Candace came on the stage with a grift. I forget the name of it, but her grift was like this weird, like... it was for like online bullying, and it's essentially like a doxing website. I forget the name of it. And then from there, she did this grift into like, well, I'm leaving the left or whatever. And then her next grift became, I'm leaving the establishment right. I no longer suck Jewish dick. Like, so there's always one grift to another. So even back in high school, we had these race grifts from her, multiple. Also something I think it's worth keeping in mind. We've had, what was it? According to Dana Dudah's work, we had her on the show forever ago. Apparently, Candace's dad was involved in some weird glowy shit. Apparently, he was handling the contracts for Sandy Hook. Makes you wonder. Years later, she made contradictory claims that she never experienced racism growing up, despite she says like multiple racisms, like legal, whatever the fuck. She was called out when media got wind of her 2007 lawsuit, but no one knew of this other incident at the time. I'll give this one a retweet. You guys go check it out. It shows the article or where this came from, written in October 30th, 2005. Let me see. Make sure there's no like, who knows, maybe no parody or nothing in the thing. Nothing, no community notes. Here's another one from the same exact person. Another one. This is the 2000. It says, uh-oh, Candace, look what I found. Candace Owens was arrested in October 2007, according to Stamford Police, and released on $1,500 bond. The victim of an alleged hate crime in which the mayor's son was a suspect was arrested yesterday, accused of sending a threatening message from her Facebook.com account, police said. Candace Owens, 18, was charged yesterday with second-degree threatening and second-degree harassment. Robert Owens, Candace's father, declined last night to comment on his daughter's arrest. Owens was released on a $1,500 bond and is scheduled to appear October 2026 in State Superior Court in Stamford. So seemed kind of a regular in the old court system and a regular in the old race grift game. So still playing the same shtick, it seems. So fun stuff. That's enough of our Candace digging. With that, let's roll in the chat, say some more good mornings. And we'll try to do this Kenneth Trentadue coverage pretty quick. Spent way too long at this. Let's roll the chat. Say some good mornings. Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Tom, is Jose going to lash out at Dave? Fuck you, Dave. Fuck you. Yep. Tom, you said it. I didn't. Good morning, Qualine the Dragon. It says, same goes for all major streamers like Kai, Sanaa, iShowSpeed, and Mr. Beast. All tied to Israel funding and control Goyslop. Same for all the betting app that could sponsor this podcast, for sure. Let's keep going. Here's Hard RS is on the same trajectory as you with Dave Smith. He loses me more and more every time I hear him speak. He seems like he's just trying to agree to grow his audience, that his big nose is showing through 100%. Tom says Erica's shows remain in the public eye. I don't feel bad for her other than losing her husband. unless she's an asset, like I think. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't feel bad for her in that sense, but like the crazy degree to which Candace has come after her in some, you are like, what the fuck? Like, it's almost like Candace has no concept of possibly being wrong whatsoever. Tom says Dave does like Rogan, where if he likes a guest, he tries to reframe what they're saying in a way that makes it sound less retarded. Yep. Good morning, Terra Gang NPC. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Greedy Data. Good to see you here. It says I need to support poor Candace. She only has $100 million. Wow. We need to help her. Yep. For sure. Good morning. Good morning to you. Yeah, she definitely needs the money. She's always asking for the money. JC says Dave is right about some things, but very blue-pilled on plenty of other things. I just think blue-pilled is giving him an out at this point. I've paid attention to him long enough. I think the whole blue-pilled thing is a bit of a out. I think he's a bit of a, frankly, I think he's a bit of a, how do I put this? Bit of a bitch, I guess is really kind of the best way to put it, honestly. So when it comes to these like social sort of things, he's kind of a clucking hen when it really comes down to it. Deep down in his soul, that's kind of what Dave is. When you really kind of get to it, he's a clucking hen. Let's keep going. And JC says, I'm always reminded of the question Tyler asked Dave and Robbie about PBD being untrustworthy, and they got mad or uncover him because PBD has him on. Dave has jumped the shark. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what a fucking joke. Like, PBD, dude, like, come on. Like, I'm someone who's not, like, don't tend to like the word grift, but, like, if there was someone that word was made for, it's like, I mean, I understand the, like, I understand not flaming people. Like, I get it. It is kind of funny, this paradigm, because I kind of, with the whole, me and Dave sort of, I mean, we weren't ever, like, close or anything, but, like, we had a falling part, and I kind of, like, I kind of stood on business. I kind of said my shit. And, like, it's fair to say, perhaps, don't take that tact. I understand that. I completely get that. But it's one thing to go a step further. Like, it's one thing not to, like, call someone out or be like, hey, this is someone that I'm friends with, or they've given me a lot of opportunities or whatever. So I just don't feel proper about, like, lashing out or, like, going, in any way, like, in an aggressive sort of manner. But, like, to go essentially go out of your way, essentially, to be like, oh, they're so great. There's no way Tucker's a fit. I can't people say he's close. Candace. Like, it's like, what, this is pathetic. This is sad. This is, I mean, whatever. I mean, congrats on the views. I hope it was worth your dignity. But yeah, JC says he can't call it like it is anymore. He's playing the political game, just a low stakes grifter level. Exactly. Yeah, Northside says the post-debate humiliation of this cuck has been epic. You talking about, I'm assuming you're talking about Andrew, yeah. Good morning, hey, say what now? Good morning. What else we got here? I gotta squeeze through the year. Here's Lainey says Candace had basically no good evidence and didn't even understand how her evidence connected to her inferences. It was insane to see the post-debate commentary on X, but X is shit show. Yes, thank you, Lainey. Thank you. This is why I'm doing this. I just feel like I'm losing my mind. JC nailed it though. Like, this is actually exactly what happened in a certain base sort of way. So, like, Mog a theory cell debate, bro, by being retarded. That is what Candace did, basically. Lainey nailed it. So, what else we got here? What else? We're going through lots of chats. Guys, I don't want to get mired in the chats. Oh, you guys see the cute little kitty there? Good morning, darn that dragon. Saying kitty name on point. You look at Mrs. Wren, little lady Wren. What else? 1241. Lainey asking if I got the clip of her mispronouncing words. Eddie, good morning to you. I don't know if I said good morning to you already. He said his first show after the debate, he was such a pussy. He titled it Candace won, but then spent the whole thing both sidesing it. It was only Robbie who had some balls to say how he really felt. Yeah, I will give that. I think Robbie was wrong. Sorry, the cat just got on my fucking headphones. There we go. I think Robbie was wrong in a certain sense. I didn't watch the whole debate. I will say somebody did tell me that that Robbie went in on Candace later, so he was kind of like sort of both sidesing it, but like in a base way of being, and kind of the way I did, where like they both lost. He was kind of doing that. Whereas, yeah, you are right. I think I did mention it at the beginning. I just didn't make a thing of it. I did think it was gay. This like Candace won, but then he did this whole like he did the both sides. He like went to pains to essentially bend over backwards to be like, Andrew Wilson's such a good debater or this or that, but I think we're like, he's just going to a ridiculous degree to where it's like, can you really just not say that she's wrong? Just don't have her on your show. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's like I said, I guess he was in a weird situation because I don't know how, like, if he came to her to ask her to come on or she came to him, because it is like an awkward situation. Because like if it is post this huge thing, like you kind of don't really have the option not to bring it up. But I'm sorry, I lean towards it is pretty fucking pathetic if you are going to talk about it to be like sweeping. I mean, your best move would be to not talk about it, frankly. If you're really that concerned, you're going to like burn a friendship or something, which I can kind of get that. But yeah, anyways, yeah, you're right. You're right there. What else we got here? Tom33, Candace Mogg, but neither won the debate. Yeah, Tom says PBD is a living definition of grifter. Yeah, for real, exactly. All right, let's try to see if we can do this somewhat quickly. We'll do an abbreviated version of this, but I got to give some ups to Kenneth Trentadue. Maybe we'll do like in parts or something. Maybe I'll only do part of it because I did. Anyways. To start off with, I do have, it was last Friday was the whateverth anniversary of, let's Kenneth Trentadue death. I keep saying, I need to find out when he died now, because I'm, like, what year? I think it was like 96 or 97. Let's see, death. 95, August 21, 1995. So it would have been the 31st anniversary. So Friday was the 31st anniversary of the death, the suiciding of Kenneth Trentadue, and wouldn't you believe it, the feds are still doing Fed shit to this day. We'll go over some of the details for those who aren't as familiar with old Kenny, but just checking on the things going on today. Here's a friend of the show, Radix Verum, quote tweeting Kash Patel, saying an alleged ISIS plot targeting American lawmakers was stopped before innocent lives were lost. This FBI will find you, disrupt you, and bring you to justice. Radix says, literally just a retarded woman you entrapped using federal informants. And she's not fucking kidding. Let's dig a little bit. Here's Kyle Seraphin, funny enough, in the comments here. You could see, here's a picture of Grimace, and then here's the actual picture of the person in this weird suit. Let's see. I was looking through this. Let's not watch that full clip. Here's Thomas Massey. He says the FBI gave her the bomb and the gun and the funds to spend at Home Depot. The government literally encouraged and enabled this terrorist plot in order to foil it. One day, they'll have to admit this is how the J5/J6 pipe bomb happened as well. And here he is, quote tweeting Todd Blanche. And here's the picture. This is her buying the stuff at Home Depot. Here is her in her full getup. I don't know if this is a burqa or what, but everyone's making Grimace memes. There's a community note here. It says a criminal complaint states FBI paid confidential human sources accompanied the defendant to Home Depot and provided $200 in pre-recorded government funds for the purchases shown in the attached images. So, and it's Todd Blanche that's sharing this right here. He's saying, thanks to the great work of FBI and our law enforcement partners, an alleged terrorist plot to attack the New York State Capitol was prevented last night. According to the complaint, the defendant swore allegiance to ISIS and planned to carry out a future deadly attack with explosives on the New York Capitol building while senators were meeting. Thankfully, this scheme was disrupted, potentially saving many lives. This is just the latest example of federal law enforcement stopping a terrorist attack in its tracks before the unthinkable could happen. The Justice Department and our law enforcement partners will find anyone who even considers harming Americans and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. It's crazy. Are they just like this tone deaf? Like even just the pictures here, it's like having no context whatsoever. Just looking at the picture of this lady in this burqa or whatever this is, meanwhile literally having the figure of Grimace. I mean, it is... Yeah, I mean, my instant assumption it is some poor soul the FBI is preying upon. So just by the figure here, definitely at the very least, even if I do want to give the feds the benefit of the doubt here, even still, then you still look at this lady and you go, I do not feel threatened here. So miss me with that, feds. But we got feds entrapping retards, and we got them killing Chads. Back 31 years ago, here's a tweet from Margaret Roberts. She wrote Blowback recently. One of these days I'm going to have to read it. I actually just fairly recently finished Kathy Sanders' book, whose grandchildren died in the bombs. I'm going to have to get her on soon to follow up with that. But anyways, here's Margaret Roberts. I still haven't read her book. Eventually I'll get around to it. I've heard good things. Here's her tweet. It says, "He ain't heavy, he's my brother." It's a 1969 hit by the Hollies. It says, August 21st marks another anniversary of Kenneth Trentadue's death in federal custody in Oklahoma City, 4 months after the 95 bombing that killed 168 people. Officially ruled a suicide by hanging, the death has never sat right with the family. Kenneth's body showed extensive injuries his brother Jesse has long argued were inconsistent with suicide. Oklahoma City's chief medical examiner at the time also expressed serious doubts. Jesse Trentadue, an attorney, has spent more than 3 decades seeking answers. He has developed evidence he believes connects his brother's death to unanswered questions about the Oklahoma City investigation itself, including theories of a larger intelligence operation involving the FBI and the SPLC. In 97, then Deputy Attorney Eric Holder, Deputy Attorney General, led efforts to persuade the Senate Judiciary Committee not to hold hearings on Kenneth's death. Those hearings never took place. Years later, when Holder was nominated as Attorney General, Jesse publicly criticized him for what he described as a determined effort to shut down the family's push for a full investigation. A later statement by Timothy McVeigh on death row that Kenneth had been killed in a case of mistaken identity for the never-identified John Doe II who rode beside McVeigh in the bomb truck further fueled Jesse's determination. That led him into federal court in a long FOIA, that's the Freedom of Information Act, campaign beginning in 2004. Through these FOIA lawsuits, Jesse has challenged the official lone wolf narrative of the bombing and sought release of surveillance videotape that reportedly showed McVeigh with John Doe II delivering the bomb. That legal battle continues. 3 decades later, Jesse Trentadue has never stopped asking the central question, what exactly happened to Kenneth in that cell? Anyone with information is invited to reach out via confidential DM. That's her saying, obviously you can do it to me as well. I'm also somebody who's dug into this stuff. You can go check out my OKC playlist. Or if you specifically want just my Kenneth Trentadue coverage, it's part 8 of what really happened at the Oklahoma City bombing. So you can go check that out. Also, my pinned tweet, you can dig through there, and there's some threads that I've done and stuff like that you can find, particularly on that and other stuff. But we also have an additional resource here, KennethTrentadue.com. So for anyone who wants to dig into, Kenneth Trentadue and his story, we do have that resource. There's also the we also have the libertarianinstitute.org/OKC. That's the largest public archive of Oklahoma City stuff, but this is also a great resource as well, this KennethTrentadue.com, and also more focused specifically on Kenneth Trentadue. As you can see here, here's a picture of Kenneth's corpse. You can see the bruises and the petechia all over him, and that's what they want to tell you was just a standard hanging. That he supposedly killed himself in a in a shoe. What is it, the high security sorts of places, much like old Epstein. This was in a federal transfer center in Oklahoma City. So here is the site. But in here too, you can find all sorts of great resources, and we're going to dig into one of them here. So if you go over to information, all sorts of articles, and with that, let's dig into a 2003 piece from J.D. Cash and Lieutenant Colonel Roger Charles. J.D. Cash being an intrepid reporter on the Oklahoma City stuff, especially like as it was happening, and then Roger Charles as well. He did help the McVeigh defense. And he also wrote, Oklahoma City, what the investigation missed and why it still matters. One of the best Oklahoma City bombing books there is. But this is a piece. It says Morris Dees had informant at Elohim City before Oklahoma City bombing. So kind of coming back full circle to this the infiltration that was occurring here and the seemingly what Kenneth Trentadue got mixed up in. Although he didn't literally get mixed up in. The problem is, as many people, we haven't mentioned it yet, but as many people do know who have covered the Trentadue story, as he does look like a damn near like a spitting image of what's his name, Guthrie, which is another person that we're about to read about. I'm sure he'll probably get mentioned in this piece. But he's another person he looked basically exactly like, and he was one of these people over at Elohim City, one of McVeigh's cohorts. So let's dig into this one. The Curtin Daily Gazette has obtained an unclassified copy of a memorandum marked from the director of the FBI containing several new facts that could impact the upcoming state murder trial of Terry Nichols. That was McVeigh's accomplice, the only other person implicated in the crime. Officially scheduled to begin March 1st in McAllister, the electronic message was sent to the OK Bomb Investigation Task Force and a select group of FBI offices around the nation some 8 months after the 95 federal building bombing in Oklahoma City left 168 dead. The potentially explosive contents of the teletype, among other things, exposes an informant operation being conducted by nationally known civil rights lawyer Morris Dees through his organization, the SPLC. Exposed for the first time, the FBI acknowledged the SPLC was engaged in undercover role, which this is significant because I know recently we had an SPLC story where the FBI was actually kind of coming at them, and they've kind of essentially distanced themselves from them. There was all these stories that came out from Kash Patel, and essentially, oh, look at all their informants doing this and this and that and this and that and this and that. For example, David Gleddy was actually one of them that came up, who, funny enough, he also is one who also was working for the FBI. So while they do try to distance themselves and go, oh, look at the crazy shit SPLC was doing, a lot of this stuff was basically co-signed by the feds, if not straight up doing it for them. So this is another example of this in action. Exposed for the first time, the FBI acknowledged the SPLC was engaged in an undercover role where they monitored subjects the FBI believed to be linked to executed bomber Timothy McVeigh, the white supremacist compound at Elohim City, and the mysterious German national Andreas Karl Strassmeyer. Dated January 4th, 1996, a 4-page cable was drafted and issued under the authority of FBI Director Louis Freeh and is heavily redacted. Despite these redactions, the document clearly describes individuals the FBI believed were associated with OK Bomb and bomb rob cases, 2 high-profile domestic terrorism cases the FBI was investigating as possibly connected. Many of the details in this potentially explosive document have never been made public before. The OK Bomb case focused several hundred FBI agents on the truck bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City on April 19, 1995. The FBI's bomb rob investigation was much smaller and involved a wide-ranging search for a group of neo-Nazi bank robbers in the mid-1990s whose stated goal was the overthrow of the U.S. government through violence. Only days after the January 4th, 1996 cable was sent, the first 2 arrests were made in the bomb rob case. Within 13 months of the electronic message, 4 more persons were jailed in connection with 22 bank robberies. The radical right-wing group participated in across 7 Midwestern states. Each of the 6 individuals arrested in the bomb rob case had ties to Elohim City, a Christian Identity paramilitary training camp near Muldrow. Only 2 persons have ever been charged in the Oklahoma City bombing, the 20th century's most brutal act of domestic terrorism that left 149 adults and 19 children dead. In 1997, McVeigh was found guilty and executed in 2001 for his role in the crimes. Nichols, McVeigh's co-conspirator, is serving a life sentence handed down by a federal judge in 1998. It is widely believed that when Nichols goes on trial in McAllister, facing an additional 161 counts of first-degree murder, his lawyers will point the finger at other conspirators who they believe can be linked to McVeigh in the bombing and Oklahoma City conspiracy. Director warns of plans for Strassmeyer's escape in the January 4th, 1996 document from the director. Sketchy plans. Details of a plan are provided regarding escape by a key subject wanted for questioning in the OK Bomb case. That's probably old Andreas Strassmeyer, like I said, the likely Fed that disappears. Would later emerge that this key individual also roomed with several members of the bank robbery gang rounded up during the bomb rob investigation. Although his name was redacted, the key subject in the electronic message was Andreas Karl Strassmeyer. He was a person that FBI officially listed as possibly armed and maybe dangerous, and who the director expected to cross the Mexican border in the near future. Inexplicably, none of the officers who received this memo were in the state of Texas, where Strassmeyer had just arrived and was expected to make his escape across the Mexican border. Other documents obtained by this newspaper indicate Strassmeyer entered Mexico within a very short time of the director's statement predicting the move. Strassmeyer made his way to Germany in the safety of his politically connected family in Berlin. Equally difficult to understand, FBI agents apparently did not go to a residence in North Carolina noted in an electronic message where Strassmeyer had been staying with a friend prior to his escape from the U.S. This newspaper first reported that Strassmeyer had been singled out for arrest by the ATF in early 95, but those plans were thwarted by the Oklahoma City FBI office. The Tulsa ATF office sought an arrest warrant in early 95 for Strassmeyer after an informant, Carol Howe, told them about a plot at Elohim City to bomb federal installations, commit mass shootings, and kill a large number of Americans. Miss Howe identified Strassmeyer as one of the ringleaders of the plot. With that, I think we're going to break this up and maybe do it. Maybe this is a part 2 tomorrow. Read the second half of this. Maybe also do a little bit more digging into how Kenneth met his untimely end. A little bit more digging into that. Although I will let you guys know, I did mention Richard Guthrie real quick. I want to look up his death because that is, I forget if it was before or after, but it was very close. He died in October 1995. And we just pointed out that Kenneth died in August. So we have August and then October. So was that 2 months? Right? Yeah, 2 months. So 2 months there. So there's a 2 months difference between when Richard Guthrie died, and then also I'll show you a picture of Richard Guthrie as well real quick. Let me see if I can find Bomb Rob. For some reason, doesn't want to show a picture of him. Why is there no picture? Here we go. Here's a picture of the guy. Here is a picture of him. You can look up. Here is Richard Guthrie. Funny enough, it's actually on a Kenneth Trentadue and his mysterious death behind bars is the where this picture is coming from for an article on that. So even more to how the spitting image, they had a similar tattoo, similar facial hair, similar build. So it looks like a case of mistaken identity. Kenneth Trentadue meets an untimely end. Richard Guthrie shortly after as well. So this is when they were all clamoring to probably find the people who did this and probably to cover up some loose ends, as many people surmise. Whether, who knows, maybe that's people inside the jail, maybe some of these white nationalist types that these guys were mixed up with. Maybe it's the authorities. Who knows? We'll cover this. This will also be a good little refresher for me before I have. I forget his name. I feel bad. I forget his name. But we have somebody. What's his name? He's coming on Wednesday. I'll give him 1 second. I'll tell you what his name is too, so I don't, because I feel like a dick. I don't remember his name. What is his name? JD Tippett. What is his name's like? That's his Twitter name. Safaro Savannah, I think is his name. He's been on some other stuff. Done some research into Carol Howe and some of the deep digs into that. So we'll have him on Wednesday. We'll continue this Kenneth Trentadue didn't kill himself segment. Probably do a part 2 tomorrow. Keep going down that rabbit hole. But with that, let's roll the chat and let's get out of here. I have a fun outro for you. I'm still hanging out in the anti-Semitism realm. But yeah, let's roll the chat, say some more good mornings, and let's get on out of here. Let's check on you guys. Here's North Side. It's a security housing unit. Yep, SHU, SHU, security housing unit. You are correct. Tom says, need a blank bumper sticker that says didn't kill themselves and just keep a running list of these fellas. Yeah, there's far too many of them, unfortunately. All right, wow. For as much chitty-chatting as you guys had there before, you guys are very quiet now. But with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. I love you all. For those who want to support my show, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at Tower Gang Jose. Everywhere else, it's the No Way Jose podcast. And if you want to support the show in the best way you can, you do it with money over at patreon.com. There's No Way Jose 2020. Lowest level over there is $2. Lowest level's $2. Gives you a whole host of perks. Gives you early episodes. I do about 1 to 2 of those per week. Shooting for 3 this week, so you're getting a little extra. Although I was a little bit low the past week or 2, so hey, making up for it. Also give you guys about 3 to 4 behind the paywall at any given time. Give you guys access to ad-free RSS feed, to the Telegram, the pre-show, the post-show, and the video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show Already Dead, which goes on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That's tomorrow. And also give a big shout out to the highest level of my Patreons. A big thank you for their support. I'm a previous Coast and Tower Gang, at Leonard Toad, also at Brigadies, at ZOVCK, at _Invisiel, Tim Tull, at John Klebo, big fan of the show, Torment, at Wayne Tackers, One Cover Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, Jacob Wintergrad, Biblical Anarchy Podcast, and John Black, you beautiful bastard. And with that, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Here's some high IQ anti-Semitism I got for you. You always be wondering, why did they do be like that? And sometimes it's just because they do be like that. But here's one of these examples of them being like that. And maybe we'll learn a little bit of why do they be like that. So here's a fun little outro for you guys. Love you all. Hope you have a good one. Should see you tomorrow, assuming I'm here. At the very least in the afternoon. I should be here tomorrow. There's no reason I wouldn't be here. So definitely pop in tomorrow, around 11 a.m. Eastern, give or take. And pop in for the old Already Dead in the afternoon. But with that, guys, we'll see you all on the next one. Love you all.
They strung up a fishing line. They strung up a fishing line, connected it between the city structures until over half of Manhattan was surrounded. A rabbi will drive around and inspect it before the Sabbath, and if he spots a break, a special crew will fix it before sundown on Friday. Because during this time, observant Jews can't bring anything out the door of their house, meaning they won't be able to carry their wallets outside or even bring their own babies outside. But the wire acts as a closed boundary, turning that part of Manhattan into one giant private area, making it easier for Jews to do things while they technically stay inside. They strung up a fishing line,